Every project we do, every client we work with, we learn something new and we discover new things we want to do with our business or things that are no longer serving us. Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the ex-agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge,
and settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips. Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 65, and today we're talking about something that is very real in our own business right now, probably very relatable to some others listening. And we have just been having this feeling that something needs to change for quite a few months now.
And no, we're not breaking up.
No, we're not. We're not breaking up, yeah. I think we talk about this all the time too, of like showing up where you're at and not being perfect and not having all the answers. And like we don't have all the answers right now, but we do know like this feeling that we're feeling. And it's just something that we've been feeling about our business for the past few months. Things have just not felt aligned. We have just been having these feelings that something needs to change. We need to pivot, which obviously like also going into lives right now, like my kids are getting closer to like school age readiness. Courtney is about to have a baby. Like our lives are literally changing too. And that is going to influence our business and like how our business comes.
Abby's going to be bringing home a puppy very soon.
Yeah.
Something I don't think we've talked about yet. But
no, which actually I will have. By the time this episode is live, I will be very sleep deprived and exhausted. So please send me a message on Instagram and say, hang in there.
I may also be sleep deprived during
Courtney
this episode too. So yes, please just help us during this time.
For real. For real. But we wanted to come on here and just talk about it because I think a lot of times, and even I think I started feeling this way in like November and December, and I actually think my husband pointed it out before I even realized it, where he was just like, something's like going on with you. Like, you're just like, you're not as excited anymore, or like, he's like, there's just like something happening. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I was like, I don't know the answer to it either. And I think it's like a little bit of like who I am is like, and we've been talking a lot about like Enneagrams and personality types. And I recently found out I'm not a 4, I'm a 3, which is like very obvious. And as an Enneagram 3, when I feel overwhelmed, confused, unsure of what to do, I literally shut down. Like I just like don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And I totally felt that way, like at the end of last year, like hardcore. So we have been having these signs that we kind of want to go through to see if there's anyone else out there who can relate to this feeling. And we're not going to get to the end of this episode and be able to give you the solution of exactly what we're doing. Like we have good ideas of where we're going with our business and we're excited and we're making the right moves, but we don't have all the answers. We are just showing up with you right now, authentically, as we talk about being transparent in the fact that our business needs to change. And here's how we knew how to do it.
So one of the signs was really just feeling uninspired. Like Abby said, we would have conversations about some of the services or the things that we were working on. And I think what we found is that we were actually talking more negatively about those things than we were positively, or like if we had to start working on it, we'd be like, oh, I have to start this project. And if you start your sentence with, oh, like it's probably something that you're not passionate about or that you shouldn't be focusing on. And I think that was one of the big things, is that we were like, this isn't bringing us joy anymore. Like we used to love it, but we're evolving, our business is evolving. We're becoming more busy in certain areas of our business where we just can't focus as much attention on these other parts. And that's not fair to us, because we're not feeling inspired and motivated by it anymore. And it's not fair to the clients that we're trying to serve within that particular service. So we had to have a raw and real conversation, like, what does this look like if we get rid of this service? And just because you start a business and this is like you have all these services laid out or these products that you're selling or whatever it might be, doesn't mean that you have to continue to do that going forward. If you notice that it's not bringing you joy or passion, or that it's dragging you down, or that it's something that you're not feeling excited to work on, you can eliminate that from your business and then take that energy and that focus and really dump it into the things that do bring you that passion and that inspire you.
Yeah. And some of the things that are no longer inspiring us used to inspire us a lot.
Absolutely.
Which I think that's also a hard thing that you need to sit down and say, like, why? Why is this happening? And it's okay to have your business grow and to have you change and like your life change and the things you want to work on change. Like every project we do, every client we work with, we learn something new. And we discover new things we want to do with our business or things that are no longer serving us. And I think we had to have that honest conversation of like, I'm not liking this anymore. Are you?
Yeah.
Which thankfully we've been aligned. But.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's something too, like if you're in the business with a partner or you have a team, this conversation could be harder because if you're a solopreneur, you can make that decision by yourself or like by asking friends or family or your spouse or something like that. But when you're in business with somebody, you both and all kind of have to be aligned to it because it's a business decision.
Yeah.
And let's say I was really loving it still and Abby's like, I have to walk away from this. I would have to reevaluate like, okay, does this make sense for our business? Do we, pivot it to just me focusing on this? Do we completely get rid of it? But I mean, luckily her and I were feeling very much the same and we were like, yes, let's do this.
Yeah. So I think it's okay. Like if you're starting to feel uninspired about something, whether you were always uninspired about it and you just did it because you felt you had to, or you're uninspired about something that used to bring you a lot of joy, I think it's okay to just think about it, like write that down.
Yes.
Another thing that was really a big sign for us that things needed to change was like little anxieties that we were having over simple tasks. We have been very, like, there's just been a lot happening in our business, and which is a very, very, like, abundance is a very good thing. Like, we are very grateful for it. But things that should bring us joy were giving us anxiety. And it was one of those moments where we were like, this shouldn't happen. We should be pumped to be joining all of these discovery calls. We should love it when I get a DM notification. Like there's certain things that we just uncovered that were giving us anxiety before we even looked at it. And then it would influence the rest of our day and how we would approach the day. Like, I know we've all felt this before. You wake up in if you accidentally looked at your email the first thing in the morning or scrolled Instagram and you came across something that just set you off, your whole day was just revolved around that. And we saw that happening more often than not.
And I think the thing about having a business partner too is that you guys can kind of feed off of each other, which is probably something
in positive and negative ways.
Right, which is probably not always the best thing, especially when it's negative. It's great when it's positive, but yeah, there would be mornings when I would wake up and I would be like, oh my gosh, I just got a message and my anxiety levels are through the roof. And Abby would be like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like if I was the one that got that message too, I'd feel the same way. And then, we just kind of like start feeding off of each other. And then I feel like we always try to make it a little lighthearted towards the end of just kind of like communicating back and forth. But there is that element of if you're both feeling it, you're going to start feeding off of each other in a negative way. And it doesn't necessarily help the anxiety.
And we carry each other's anxiety too. Like if you have anxiety, I carry that. If I have anxiety, you carry that. Like we are in each other's energies all the time. So when one of us is feeling off, then we know something is wrong. And sometimes the other one can pull us out. And I think we've noticed that. Like I guess that can be another sign that you're kind of ready for things to change is when if you are a business partnership and both of you are in this weird funk state, it's probably a sign that something is off because every once in a while you can go through that. But I think consistently, if that's happening, it's not great.
Yeah. Another thing that we kind of noticed, and that we, you tend to ask yourself, you should be asking yourself this if you're in a business, but where will your business be in 5 years? Asking yourself that question. And we can't couldn't answer that. We were unsure. And I think it's okay to be unsure. You don't have to have all of that solidified and set in stone. But the fact that we had nothing, we were like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like,
which is a very big crisis when you're a business owner. And
it's a scary feeling because you don't have that vision of your brand and your business and your future, and you really need to have at least something there in order to know how you're going to evolve your business and how you're going to grow it. Because if you don't have anything there, you're going to stay stagnant. You're going to still be uninspired. You're not going to have that passion or motivation to move forward. And we really kind of hit that wall where we're like, how do we grow our business in a way that is fun for us, but also efficient, and where we're bringing in enough to sustain our lifestyles?
Yeah. I think, and just knowing my personality and like being an achiever is what the number 3 is. I've learned that if I am not pursuing something or checking boxes or making progress, I feel like I'm failing, like personally. And so like when we hit this point of like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore almost, or like where this business is going. And I think I kind of had this crisis a little bit because I was like, man, I need to like stay motivated while Courtney's on maternity leave so she doesn't stress out about anything. And like, I need to just like be pushing this business forward. And if I am having this question and then Courtney comes back from mat leave and I'm like, what's happening? So it was definitely a moment. Like, I do think like this kind of pivot in our business and just what's happening in our life this year, it did become like a really important thing that we had to figure out, which it's going to take us all year probably, honestly, to like figure out and solidify and figure out the direction that we're going in.
Especially given the mat leave and everything too. I think just with me being out for a while, Abby will focus on what she focuses on and what she's great at for the business. And then when I come back, I think we can really kind of start to hit the ground running on what that looks like. But it'll probably be end of year into 2024 that we actually get it all solidified.
Yeah. And just transparency, like, because I don't want someone listening to this to be like, oh, are you not doing SEO anymore? But we've decided, like, this is a little peek into our business and kind of like what we want to do is we both have passions of what we love about what we do. I love SEO. I thrive on it. I love coaching in SEO. I love working with our students and I love working with clients. And that's where I have the joy and the passion and I want to keep growing. And so like that's the side of my business that I really love. And Court has that same passion with branding. And so that's where we want to bring those two together and stop doing all the other random things that we do and really hone in on those. And how that looks and how that grows is going to be different. But we really had to like sit down, like that question, where will your business be in 5 years? We kind of got to the point right now where we had to decide, are we going to grow as a typical agency model for like a marketing agency, or are we going to do something different? Like basically, are we going to hire a bunch of people, take on a bunch of clients and manage a lot more projects, or do we want to grow in a different way? And the answer was we don't want to grow in an agency model.
No, like we've been there.
It doesn't feel right for us. We never had that vision for our company in the beginning. And in order to keep growing in the one-on-one way that we're doing right now, we would have to grow people. Otherwise, we can't scale our business.
Correct.
So it was really an honest conversation we had to be with each other. And now we know what we don't want to do. And now we have to figure out how we're going to grow in a different way. And this is where we're showing up where we are right now. Like that is where we are. We're figuring it out as we go. But we are going to eliminate the junk, which I don't want to call it junk because we still love it, but we're eliminating the other things that are no longer serving us and focusing on the joy that we love and then figuring out the rest of it from there.
And being able to give those clients and those experiences and those topics so much more of our brain power because right now we're so spread thin that it's hard to educate ourselves more in what these areas that we're focusing on are. So we are the experts in these areas, but that you're never not learning. Like, you should always be learning, even if you're an expert in a field, because things are always evolving. And that's what we miss right now, is that we're not able to take that time and really focus our energy and pour ourselves into these topics and even educate ourselves more, so we're even more of an expert and we're even a better option for somebody to work with, because we want to make sure at the end of the day that we're serving our clients to the best of our ability. And if we're so spread thin on things, or if things aren't inspiring us or motivating us, that's going to show through in the client work. And like I said earlier, that's not fair to us and it's not fair to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in everything that we're talking about right now, so like feeling uninspired, anxiety over simple tasks, unsure of where we're going to be in 5 years, I think the last one that kind of hit us really hard was the efficiency. We had a few projects that just didn't feel efficient for us anymore, or we didn't see the crazy results we had hoped for maybe, or just the process wasn't right. Like something, I don't even know how to explain it.
Wasn't working.
Yeah, like it could have been done better, and we could have had the inspiration to make it better, but we weren't inspired. So it was just a moment where we had to understand, like, okay, and I also think you can figure this stuff out also by looking and tracking your revenue based on projects or products sold or whatever you're doing. Like, if you can go back at the end of the year, especially since like 2022 ended not that long ago, going back and looking at our services, like we love to look at branding, social, SEO. How are they performing? What are they bringing in? And then are they aligning with where we want to go in the future? And that can be kind of like a situation where you're like, we're not selling any of this package, or not as many as we need to. Are there ways to scale this package? And if there's not, then maybe it just has to go away. And so we had to have some of those conversations, just kind of eliminating things and where we wanted to go.
And we could have made it work if we would have taken the agency model. If we would have gone that route, we could have made it work and it would have been really successful.
Yeah.
But that was not the route that we wanted to take. And because of that, we knew that we had to get rid of these things that weren't serving us and that we knew we didn't want as the vision future of our business.
And not a lot of people are going to understand this decision that we just made.
No.
Like, honestly, I've talked to people about it where they're just like, well, why would you turn away business if you already have a successful like option to grow it? Because that's what people would do. People would hire, like, we could scale that side of the business. We could hire the right people to run it, and we don't even need to think about it, but it's not right for us. It's not right for our brand. It doesn't bring us passion, and we talk about this all the time. If you don't have passion and confidence in what you're delivering, then it's not going to work. And we aren't in the business just to make money. Like, we want to like make a difference. We want to feel good about it. And
we
so
want to love what we do and who we're serving and why we're doing it.
Yeah. So it's not about where the industry is going. It's about where you want to go and the vision that you see there. And I think like we aren't following the typical path. And I love that about our business.
Yes.
Like, that's something that I love. And hopefully like that you can start to see those things in your business too, of like, where is it that you want to go? And are you following a path because it's an industry standard, or can you break out of it in a different way and figure out what feels good to you and how you want to grow your business in a way that feels right?
Yeah. So what do you do when you start feeling like this? These are some of the things that we did. And the first one is really just having that honest conversation with yourself, with your business partner, with your coworkers, with anybody surrounding you in your life that knows anything about your business and what you do. You need to have that honest conversation. And sometimes it doesn't look great. Sometimes it doesn't feel great. But I can tell you that after Abby and I had this conversation, it felt kind of icky and kind of weird when we had the first conversation about it, because I think we were both looking at each other like, this is a part of our business that's been with us since we started. It's not like we're losing a baby of our business. No. And that's not what I'm trying to say.
It
but
can
like,
feel like a failure in a way. It's not. It's not at all. But I think like that's kind of how it can feel sometimes. Like, oh, this didn't work, so it feels like it failed, but it didn't. It like helped us grow and learn in a different way, but it can feel kind of gross at first.
So the conversation wasn't great, but then it needed to happen. But I remember it was like the next day I texted Abby and I'm like, gosh, I feel so good about this change, and we haven't even implemented a damn thing yet.
Yeah.
And she's like, me too.
Yeah.
Like we haven't
Anxiety lifted.
Yeah, like we hadn't told the world, we hadn't taken it off our website. We hadn't done anything. And I all of a sudden just felt like this sense of like the anxiety left. I was excited about our future. I was excited about the way that we're pivoting and what we're going to be doing and focusing on, and leaving behind the things that were just causing that anxiety and stress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the next thing, one of the things that I did, even before I think I told you
Yes.
that I was that I was like struggling real hard, which I'm sure Court could tell because I'm usually a pretty positive person in general in life, or I try to have like a positive outlook on things.
She's also very good at wearing her emotions on her sleeve.
I do.
So I can tell when something is up.
Yeah, when I'm feeling anxious or just like weird. Yeah, I don't hide. It is what you get.
I think I'm a little better at hiding stuff.
Yeah,
But
you
then
are.
I kind of get to a breaking point,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, right. I know. For real. So the one thing that I did is I literally wrote down, here's what I'm loving about my business right now, and here's what I'm disliking. And it was really easy in that moment to like come up with a good chunk of things that I was like disliking and kind of figuring it out, because sometimes they were like simple things too, where
Let's
it was
hope
like
I wasn't on the dislike list. I kind of want to see this list now.
things, I said, not people, things. I think one of the things that came on that list, I think at the time, it could have been the scheduling link, or it was just like figuring out like we just had an influx of inquiries and figuring that out. And I think that was stressful. And so there were like certain things that were really tangible that I feel like I could figure out with just process. But then there were other things where I was like, yeah, I just don't like doing this. I don't like doing this process. I don't like these types of projects. And then figuring that out and then seeing like, okay, what do I really like in my business right now, especially when I'm in a funk, and like writing down what I do like can really help figure out like, okay, this makes sense. And I think I didn't know what I was going to get out of it when I started writing it down. And I think it kind of helped provide clarity and like, okay, I'm figuring this out, because I really got to the point where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes, and pen and paper. Don't go to your computer for things like this. Pen and
Absolutely.
paper is so much more important.
Yeah, pen and paper.
The other thing is to just rest and walk away. I remember when this kind of first got brought up, and there were a few things that we were trying to decide on how we wanted to move forward with our business, and I had to look at Abby and just be like, I can't make this decision right now. Like, I know this is a big decision, and because I feel like Abby was maybe a few steps ahead of me.
I was.
And I was catching up, and I was like, okay.
Aren't you in my brain? Don't you know?
I'm close to in your brain, but not quite. And I had to take a minute, and I think if I would have said go when I was talking to Abby about it, she'd be like, perfect. Yes, we're done. We figured it out. And I looked at her and I was like, no, I'm sorry. I can't. I just have to take a minute. And I haven't even told Abby this, but like I felt a little bad that I had to tell her that I had to take a minute, because I almost felt like I couldn't give her what she wanted right away, or I was like, gosh, am I selfish if I want to keep this thing or keep doing this? Or what does this look like if I come back and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that pivot. So taking that time to rest and walk away was super important for me, because I needed to just step aside, think about it with a clear mind, not talk about it at that moment. Because at that moment, we were both a little on edge. There was a little bit of anxiety. Yeah, we were overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in our business. There's a lot going on in our personal lives. So I think just having that space and time to really reflect on that and not talk to anybody about it, just sit with my own thoughts, was something that I needed to do before I could go back and be like, okay, yes, this actually does make sense. We need to do this for us, for our business, for our personal lives. And I think Abby probably did a dance in her living room, and she doesn't even love to dance.
No,
but
I was definitely, I mean, it's still, nothing feels, I think there are some pivots that feel really good.
Yeah.
And I think you hear a lot about that. You hear a lot about people pivoting and like breaking through. Like they call it breakthroughs, and they're like, oh my gosh, like this is next level business decisions. And this pivot for us did not feel like that.
No.
I think it will next year. I think we will feel amazing about where we've came. But honestly, at this point right now, it doesn't feel good. And I think that's kind of why we wanted to talk about it, because it's something that like we needed to have this conversation. We needed to make this change, and we decided to make this change before we hit a point of it being a problem.
Yes, absolutely.
So, which is good. So you needing that conversation. And so I think another thing is like finding other creative outlets, just like Court was saying, like resting and walking away is so important. I move too quickly, and Courtney helps me not move too quickly in that, because I'm very impulsive. Like I love to just like jump on it, and sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can be bad. And like, that's how my brain works. I'm just like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm done with this, move on, do something else. Like it's part of the productivity of like, I need to be productive. So I need to know I'm making progress. And so pausing is really hard, but like I've been practicing meditation this year. You know, it's been a year.
I'm so proud of her, because I was like, girl, you need to meditate. And she's
I do.
like, how do you meditate?
Yeah.
There's no way.
My brain doesn't shut off. Like,
I'm like, but
yeah.
that's the point of meditation,
Practice.
Abby.
Practice for sure. So I think finding other creative outlets has been really good. And I think another thing both of us did too is just like talk to other people other than us, because we are so into our business that I think it's really good to get some opinions from other people.
Yeah. And it's kind of just like a sense of validation. Like you're not gonna, you want to get their opinions and their thoughts on it. They're not at the end of the day going to be the reason that you said yes or no. But they are going to help you think through it and talk through it. And they're an outsider. They're not in the business every single day. They see the business. They know what the business is doing, but they're not the ones making these decisions. And it's really just comforting to almost everybody that we talked to, I believe, was just like, yes, like you need to make this pivot for your business. If it feels right, you should do it. And so there was just a little bit of that validation where it's like, okay, people like
You're right.
are agreeing with us and they don't think we're crazy, so we should probably do this.
For real. Yeah. Another thing that I know I needed to do personally is like stay off social media. I think when you're going through something like this and you're unsure of like where you want to go, imposter syndrome is like a really big thing that creeps in when you watch other people look and appear successful. And then you are seeing that when you are feeling unsure about where your business is going. So I think just shutting it off, not looking at it, like not having those moments, because you're never going to grow in the same way someone else is. You need to have this time to like figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And then the last thing is being open to change. We just talked about this recently, and the fact that we are open to it and that we know that this is the right thing for our business and our personal lives. I think even just to bring some of that inspiration and motivation back into everything that we're doing. And realizing that it's okay to change. Like just because you started this business and these were the things that you had doesn't mean that you have to continually do that. And it doesn't mean that you have to adopt an agency model to continue to grow that one service. It doesn't mean that you have to change everything that you've been doing. You can absolutely change in your business however you need to in order to stay inspired, to continue to make money for whatever lifestyle you have, and to just continue to be motivated. I think you start a business, your business is going to evolve, and you have to be open to that. And whether it feels good or not, like at first this didn't feel like the best, and then after we had the conversation, we were like, oh my gosh, we feel great. So really just sitting down and evaluating all of these things that we talked about and really being open to that change and not just giving yourself grace, I would say too. Not feeling like you have built this business and you're stuck in this corner. You can absolutely change your business.
Yeah, it's easy to, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it can sometimes feel easier to make a pivot when you're in your younger years of running a business, and it feels harder the more and more you're in your business, it feels harder to make a big change because you have a bigger audience. You have more people that know what you do. You've talked on past podcasts about what you do. Like you put out content. Like there's a lot of things that are happening that when you make a change like this, that, this kind of just goes into your brain of like, well, we can't change that because this is what we've talked about forever. And it's like you need to remember that you made this business and you will continue to make this business. So unless you want to run this business into the ground doing something you don't love and then seeing the results of that, you need to make changes. Like as hard as they are or as crazy as they might be, like just making those changes are necessary and to create a business that you love. So whether you are listening to this episode and you are like in the middle of like these yucky feelings that we've been talking about, or you're kind of like you're feeling change or something on the horizon for the rest of this year, 2024, hopefully this kind of just gave you the approval just to like take it slow, not do things as like the industry would, just kind of make the changes and like make the decisions for yourself of what feels good. And hopefully this inspires you to make some other decisions or having those honest conversations with people. And yeah, we just appreciate you guys for allowing us the opportunity to be transparent, showing up where we are right now. We don't always have all the answers, but yeah, it's
trying to keep it real over
yeah,
here.
keeping it real. Keeping it real, and you will likely see more of like how this whole pivot is coming to life for us when we know what that is.
TBD.
So thank you for listening to another episode of Duo on Air. We'll see you guys next week. If you like this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please go ahead and leave us a review and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We absolutely love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.